Hi everyone, I'm Taylor. I'm significantly less tech savvy than Chris, but my Nexus phone recently updated its Android operating system, and I thought I'd give my own personal review of how I felt about Android Marshmallow. I'm embarrassed to admit that this is my second attempt at this video. My first attempt, I somehow didn't hit the record button. Not sure how that happened. No, why is this recording? Let's start right from the lock screen. Just turn it on. And the first thing you'll notice is that the time is now in a bolder font. Great. Great start. You'll also notice that this icon is no longer a phone, but it's now a microphone. Probably pretty useful, as most people don't actually call on their phones but use their phones for other things. Not useful, however, if you want to get in touch with 911 real quick. One change I heard about is that the home screen is now going to be able to rotate. Let's see what that looks like. No, I guess it doesn't rotate. Next changes. We now have a Do Not Disturb function. I think they've actually changed the order of the icons on this drop-down menu, so okay, cool. Don't know why they thought they needed to do that. I think you can also get the Do Not Disturb from your volume, and yes you can, there it is. One thing that you can also do with the volume now that you couldn't do before is, if you hit that triangle there, that arrow, you can now change the volumes for alarms, for media, things like that. You couldn't do that with Lollipop, so that's pretty useful. If you go into your settings and you scroll down to About Phone and you rapid click on Android version, you get the same Easter egg that you got with Lollipop, but it's lame, because before, when you tapped on it, it would change color. Now it just gives you this marshmallow. Pretty pointless. It does, however, come up in a different color every time you do it. What it also does is if you long click on it, is if you, is it a long click? Maybe it's a rapid click.
2 hours later.
There we go. I don't know why it worked that time. You now get a game very similar to Flappy Bird. One change that actually is pretty legit is again in settings. If you go to apps and you hit this cog up here, you can now change the app permissions, which is great. I really like being able to personalize what apps can do what, especially in terms of security and things like that. Like certain apps want to access things that don't make any sense to me, and you can turn that off now. If you go to location, for example, why does Messenger need to know where I am? I just don't feel like that's important. Maybe some of you would disagree, that's fine, but for me, I don't see the point. So I have those ones turned off. Other things like Snapchat, I leave that on because it'll give you filters specific to where you are. I like that about Snapchat, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, just a little more personalization. I'm sure that there's more important features than just what I've outlined in this video. There's probably some sort of developer features. I know for a fact that there's a lot of things that you can do with Google Now that you couldn't do before. I personally can't do those because my Google account is through my school, and so it sort of limits my options of what I'm allowed to do. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that's all that's new with this thing. Again, I'm not super tech savvy. I use my phone for texting and Instagram mostly. You won't see any big differences. It works great. That's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button. If you didn't, subscribe to Chris's channel anyway. You'll probably never see me again. And if you didn't like it, well, you didn't like it. Thanks for watching, guys.
The fuck you looking at, bitch?